There's a lot of noise right now. A lot of voices telling us to worry, to prepare for the worst, to stay alert, and to stay afraid. If you're over 40, you've probably noticed it feels heavier than it used to. Not because you're weak, but because you've lived long enough to know how much can be lost. Every headline seems urgent. Every warning feels personal. And little by little, fear starts taking up space in places that it just doesn't belong. But somewhere along the way, I made a quiet decision. I decided I am not going to live like that anymore. Not because everything is fine, not because the future is certain, but because fear is a terrible way to spend the years that we still have left. So today I want to talk about why I refuse to live in fear about the future and how choosing peace changed the way that I wake up every morning. Fear feels different now than it did when we were younger, doesn't it? Heavier, more personal. Not because you're weaker, but because you're wiser. By this stage of life, you've already lost things, people you loved, dreams that didn't turn out the way you imagined, plans you were sure would work until they didn't. You know how quickly life can change. You understand consequences now. You've lived long enough to know that nothing is guaranteed. That kind of knowing changes you. So when warnings come and when voices get louder, they land differently. They don't feel hypothetical. They feel real. And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means you have experience. For years, we were taught to believe that being alert was the same as being responsible. That staying informed would keep us safe. And that if we paid close enough attention, we could somehow prevent pain. But our minds were never meant to carry this much constant awareness, this many alerts, this steady stream of urgency. It wasn't designed for peace. When everything feels important, nothing ever feels settled, and fear quietly slips in. Not all at once, but slowly. Through habit, through repetition, through the feeling that you're always supposed to be bracing for what's next. If you've noticed yourself feeling more anxious than you used to, more tired, more on edge, you're not imagining it. And you're not failing at anything. You're simply living in a season where fear is louder. Peace requires a more intentional choice. Scripture reminds us that God knows our frame and that He remembers how human we are. So feeling this weight doesn't mean we failed. It means we're human. The thing about fear is that it doesn't arrive loudly, and it doesn't announce itself. It settles in quietly, and over time, it begins to take more than we realize. Fear steals sleep first, not all at once, just a little at a time. You lie down tired, but your mind keeps moving, replaying conversations, running through possibilities, asking questions that just don't have any answers. And it steals joy in ordinary days. The simple moments that used to feel grounding. Cup of coffee in the morning, a quiet kitchen, the comfort of routine starts to feel rushed or distracted or unfinished. Gratitude becomes harder to hold, not because you aren't thankful, but because fear keeps pulling your attention forward, always toward what might happen next. And before you know it, you are no longer fully present at home. You're there in body, but part of you is always somewhere else, planning, worrying, preparing. This is how fear enters our routines. It shows up in the first thoughts of the morning, before your feet even touch the floor. It lives as tension in the body, tight shoulders, shallow breaths, a constant sense of urgency. And it whispers a steady stream of what-ifs throughout the day. What if something goes wrong? What if I'm not ready? What if I should be doing more? Over time, this creates a kind of quiet exhaustion, the kind that rest, it just doesn't fix. The kind that comes from carrying weight that never belonged to you in the first place. And many of us, we don't even realize that it's happening. We just assume this is what life feels like now. If this sounds familiar, if you've been feeling worn down in ways that you just can't quite explain, it's not because you're ungrateful, and it's not because you're failing. It's because fear is expensive. It's been costing you more than you knew. There's a verse that says, an anxious heart weighs a person down. I think many of us feel that way every day, even when we can't quite name it. The turning point, it didn't come with a crisis. There was no breaking moment, no dramatic decision. It came quietly. I started to notice how often fear was guiding my choices. Not loudly, just consistently. What I avoided, what I delayed, what I said yes to, and what I said no to. Fear wasn't just something I felt occasionally. It had become a companion, sitting beside me in small decisions, shaping the way I plan my days, whispering caution where peace used to be. And what surprised me most was how normal it felt. I didn't question it at first. I told myself this was just part of being responsible, part of being realistic, part of being older and knowing better. But one day I realized something that completely stopped me. Fear was no longer reacting to life. It was leading it. I hadn't fixed anything. I hadn't figured the future out. Nothing suddenly felt certain or secure. All I did was notice. Notice how much space fear had taken up. Notice how often I was bracing instead of living. Notice how peace had slowly been just pushed to the edges. And in that noticing, something shifted. I didn't decide to control the future. I decided to stop letting fear control me. There's a verse that says fear isn't what God gives us. And I realized I had been living as if it was. And that choice didn't remove uncertainty, and it didn't erase risk. It didn't guarantee outcomes, but it changed the way I carried the unknown. For the first time in a long while, I felt a little lighter. not because life became easier, but because I stopped holding weight that was never mine to carry. Once I noticed how much fear had been shaping my days, I didn't make a list of rules. I didn't overhaul my life. I just began paying attention. I noticed how often I was taking in information that left me unsettled, not informed, just uneasy. So I chose to stop consuming things that fed urgency and offered no peace. I didn't ignore the world. I simply learned that I didn't need to carry everything it presented to me. I noticed how often my mind rehearsed worst-case scenarios. Not once in a while, but almost automatically. So I chose to stop giving those thoughts so much attention, not because they couldn't happen, but because imagining them over and over again, it wasn't protecting me from anything. I noticed how much responsibility that I was carrying for outcomes I could not control. The future, other people, things far beyond my reach. And I learned that holding all of that didn't make me prepared. It just made me tired. So I stopped trying to manage what was never mine to manage in the first place. And maybe the hardest thing that I let go of was this belief that peace was irresponsible. That if I felt calm, I must be missing something. That worry was a sign of care. But I learned that peace doesn't mean indifference. It means trust. It means choosing to live the day in front of you instead of borrowing trouble from tomorrow. These weren't dramatic changes. They were quiet ones. But little by little, they began to change how my days felt and how I moved through them. As I let go of what was feeding fear, I realized something important. I couldn't leave that space empty. Fear always fills a vacuum, so I needed something steadier to put in its place. I started returning to simple routines, not rigid ones, just familiar rhythms that reminded my body and mind where I was. Waking up at the same time, making the same cup of coffee, doing small tasks in the same order each day. Nothing impressive, just grounding. And I began letting my attention rest in my home again, noticing the quiet moments, the ordinary work, the comfort of repetition. I allowed days to be simple, even uneventful, without feeling like something was wrong. There was a time when I believed calm meant I was unprepared, that ordinary days were a luxury that I could not afford. But I learned that stability isn't something you earn after everything is settled. It's something you choose while life is still uncertain. So I started trusting that today deserves peace too. Not after everything is figured out. Not once every question is answered. Today. And instead of placing my trust in constant updates or warnings, I placed my trust somewhere steadier than the headlines. That shift didn't make life perfect, but it made it livable again. And slowly, without forcing it, fear stopped being the loudest voice in the room. If you're lying awake at night staring at the ceiling, your mind moving faster than your body can rest, and if you feel responsible for everything, for holding things together, for being the steady one, for thinking ahead so nothing falls apart. If you're tired of bracing for impact, tired of waiting for the other shoe to drop, tired of feeling like peace is something you're only allowed once everything is settled, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not foolish for wanting calm. And you are not naive for longing for a life that feels steady instead of tense. Wanting peace doesn't mean you've given up. It means you're tired of carrying what was never meant to be carried alone. So many of us were taught that worry was part of being responsible. Staying on edge meant we cared enough, and that letting go meant being careless. But that's not true. You're allowed to live fully now, not someday, not once everything makes sense, not after every question is answered, now. You don't have to earn peace by exhausting yourself first. You don't have to prove your vigilance. You don't have to justify your need for rest. If you've been craving a quieter way to live, a calmer way to move through your days, that doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means something in you knows there's a better way. And if you're here listening to this, something tells me you're already closer to that peace than you realize. One of the things that helped me most was realizing this. The future has always been uncertain. It's easy to forget that, especially now when uncertainty feels louder than ever. But uncertainty, it didn't begin with us. It didn't suddenly appear in our lifetime. The generations before us lived without constant alerts, without a steady stream of warnings, and without being reminded every hour of everything that could go wrong. They still faced hardship. They still experienced loss, and they still lived through seasons they couldn't predict. What they didn't do was carry it all at once. They lived their days as they came. They tended to their homes, and they loved the people in front of them. And they trusted that tomorrow would take care of itself when it arrived. Peace isn't pretending that nothing can happen. And it isn't ignoring reality. It isn't closing your eyes to what matters. Peace is wisdom. It's understanding the difference between being aware and being consumed. Fear has never protected anyone from loss, but peace has carried many people through it. Choosing peace, it doesn't mean you won't face hard days. It means you won't spend every good day rehearsing them in advance. And when you look at it that way, the future doesn't feel like something to fear. It feels like something to walk into, one steady step at a time. So this is where I've landed. I refuse to live afraid. Not because nothing can happen, and not because life is predictable. Definitely not because I believe I'm immune to loss. I refuse to live afraid because fear doesn't deserve the years that I have left. Doesn't deserve my mornings. It doesn't deserve my home. It doesn't deserve my attention or my peace. I've already given fear enough time, enough energy, enough space in my life. From here on, I choose to live present, to meet each day as it comes, to hold to what I can and release what I can't. Whatever the future brings, I want to walk toward it awake, not braced, not clenched, and not shrinking back. There is still living to be done, still beauty to notice, still meaning in ordinary days. And I refuse to let fear take that from me. If this gave you a moment of calm today, a place to set things down for a few minutes, you're welcome to stay here a while. There's no rush, no pressure to have everything figured out. Just space to breathe and to remember that peace is allowed. I'll be here sharing these quiet moments, the ordinary days, the steady rhythms, the gentle reminders that life doesn't have to be lived on edge. However you found your way here today, I'm so glad you did. And whenever you need a calmer place to land, this space will be here for you. And I'll see you next time.